Hi everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and all of you are also able to hear me clearly. So I'm checking the YouTube chat, just checking if everything is in place, and then we'll get started with the session. So this particular session is going to focus on mock test strategy. Right now, I'm sure all of you who are planning to take the CAT 25, you have started thinking about, or you have already joined IMS, or some of you may be thinking that, okay, I'm going to join a test preparation institute, or you're thinking of, let's say, joining the test series of IMS and so on. So what we're going to talk about is when you are thinking of, let's say, starting your mock test journey, what are the things that you should keep in mind? And there are some things about the journey that I will talk about that will happen to almost everybody, so that you don't feel surprised or shocked when those things happen to you. So we're going to talk about things like how many mock tests to take, what should be the frequency of test, how to deal with low scores, and so on and so forth. We had floated a form, and on that form we received a lot of queries from students. What I've done is because a lot of queries were common, we have put them in different buckets, and we're going to be discussing. So I put one each on each of the slides, and that is what we're going to discuss. So I'll also be taking questions from the YouTube chat. So just in case you're not able to submit your query in that form, that's absolutely fine. I'm also going to take the queries that I get on the YouTube. Okay, so I think I'll start with a question from the YouTube audience. So Kartikeya is asking, what should be strategy whose quant is weak and want to start his journey at this point of time? So first and foremost, when you think of the individual sections, right, and CAT overall as a test, what you need to understand is that you need to clear the bare minimum sectional requirement first of all. So I have to ensure that I've done enough to clear the sectionals, and then only I can think about maximizing my score. And at this point of time, rather than worrying too much about your score, you should be worrying about how am I supposed to cover all the syllabus that is there. So there is no officially defined syllabus for the CAT by IMS, but whatever is there in your courseware, right? So the books that have been given to you, focus on completing as much of it as possible as early as possible. So I would suggest that you take about 3 weeks or so for every module, 3 weeks to maybe a month, and then try and cover it as much as possible. Right. So if let's say I'm starting from May itself, I've not done anything as of now. May, June, July, August, right? So these 4 months are going to be the foundational months wherein you are building a lot of content and parallelly you're taking tests, right? So a lot of students also have this concern that I have not prepared a lot at this point of time. Should I still take mock test? The answer to that question is yes, you should be taking mock test. So don't worry about your mock test score as such, but worry about finishing the syllabus as early as possible. So in the curriculum that you have, in the courseware that you have, try and do the basic concepts, then do class exercise and the practice exercise. Alongside practice exercise, you also have something called benchmarking test, which is available to IMS students. So you can do that. And if you've done that much, ideally you've done enough that is required for a particular topic. You technically don't have to do more questions. Then once you take mock tests, you realize, okay, maybe I need more practice. You can always do more practice, which is available in MyMS. But just to clear, or I would say cover the syllabus that is there for any topic, focus on the theory, class exercise, practice exercise, and benchmarking test. That should be enough. Okay, let's start with the first question that I got from a lot of students, and this is from the Google form that we had floated. So the first question was, when should I start taking mocks? And the answer to that question is as early as possible. So see, typically, if you look at when the mock tests begin, right? And I'm not only talking about IMS, but for other test series providers as well. Typically, they start around this time, right? And there is a reason for that. The reason is you need roughly about 6 months to improve your test taking skills. So I'm not saying it cannot be improved in 2 months or 3 months. I'm saying generally, if you give yourself 6 months, that's a good enough time frame to improve your test taking skills. It's possible to improve that in 2-3 months as well. Towards the end, people do that. But it is always advisable that you give yourself more time. It also allows you to take a few breaks in between. So if you look at the SIMCAT availability schedule that is there on the website, you will see that we have built-in buffers in between. For example, you have the Diwali, right? You have the Ganpati festival, you have other things. So considering all of that, there are buffers that are built in. And when you look at the entire test series plan that we have, there are 20 full-length tests that we offer in proctored mode. Then there are 3 pre-SIMCATs that happen, which are easier in terms of difficulty. And then there are 20 take-home SIMCATs as well. So to cover this much, even if you were to take, let's say, one test a week, right, you're going to need a lot of time. So that is why we ensure that we give you sufficient time, and we start somewhere around May. So we just started our SIMCAT. SIMCAT 1 and 2 is done. The first official SIMCAT will be starting in this month itself, which is in May. So when to take the mocks, I would say start as early as possible. So don't wait for your syllabus to get over. So a lot of people think that let me wait for, say, August to take mock test. But that is not a good strategy, because then you are giving yourself limited time to get better at test taking. The other side of thing is that I am scared, right? That at this point of time, I haven't studied much. Maybe I've just joined IMS. I have recently, let's say, completed module 1. In that case, should I take the mock test? What I would suggest is, even if you're done, let's say, module 1, right? Ideally, at the end of module 2, you are more or less in position to take a full length test. But even if you're taken module 1, you want to attempt a full length paper, you start with pre-SIMCATs. So the pre-SIMCATs are on the easier side. You can have a look at these before you jump onto SIMCATs, which are actual CAT difficulty level tests. So if you're feeling a bit underconfident or underprepared, start with pre-SIMCATs, build a little bit of confidence of sitting at one place for 2 hours and taking a full length test, and then move on to the actual SIMCATs. But just to answer the question, you should start as early as possible. Even if you've not done anything so far, I would suggest that by June, at least, you should start taking your mock test. There's another question from the YouTube chat. This is from Soumya. By when should we aim to complete our portion? And I've started giving mocks already. Great. So to complete your syllabus, the first round, I would say if you're just starting, it should be before August. But if you've already done a little bit of preparation, then you can give yourself about a month for a module. So we have 4 core CAT preparation modules that are given to IMS students. Roughly about a month per module if you take, and let's say you already done 2 modules, in another 2 months, you should be completing your syllabus. Correct? So, but for those of you who are just starting, give yourself about 4 months to do that. Now, the next question that we got from the Google form is, how many mocks should I take and what should be the frequency of mocks? I have a very simple recommendation here. One is that we have a SIMCAT release schedule. So if you check IMS SIMCAT availability schedule or release schedule, you'll be able to find it. Now on that page, you have all the proctored SIMCAT dates. So the proctored SIMCATs will happen as per that calendar. You blindly follow that. You don't have to do anything else. Whenever the SIMCATs happen, you just show up and take the test. Regarding take-home SIMCATs, which are another 20 SIMCATs that you get, you can take it whenever you want. Now, I would not recommend you to take those tests right now because you leave it for later. A lot of students think that they need to exhaust tests as early as possible. But that's not a good strategy, because towards the end, you will see that you need more test-taking practice than what you need at this point of time. Alongside this, you're also going to have your past CAT papers. So the past CAT papers are also available as a test, and you need to keep these towards the end. And when I say end, I'm not talking about extreme end. I'm saying after the first round of syllabus is done. So assuming somebody starts now complete syllabus by August, September, October, November. So you get 3 months to focus on test taking. But it's not that you should be taking tests only during this period. So that's why I said follow the SIMCAT schedule the way it is, right? So whenever the test happen, you go and take it. The take-home SIMCATs, because you're going to have 20 plus the past CAT papers, which should be somewhere around 20 as well. So you have another 40 papers, correct? Which means that even if I have to take, let's say I give myself about 6 months, I should be taking somewhere around 6 tests per month, correct? So you figure out for yourself, looking at your workload, looking at your college, how much time you're getting, and basis that you can plan it out. So there's no ideal number of mocks. So for some people, even 20 will suffice. For some people, 30 will be required. For some people, even 40 may not be enough. So it depends. And the way I like to look at it is, let's say you go for a wedding or a function, right? And there is food that is available. You don't eat everything that is there on the menu. You figure out basis, okay, how hungry you are, and depending on the taste and what you prefer and all those things, you decide that, okay, these are the items that I'm going to consume. So that is why I would not recommend you to just do all the tests. You decide, okay, for myself, maybe 20 tests will be enough. For me, 30 tests will be enough. Okay. But proctored SIMCATs, which are 20 in length, if you take only that also, you will have enough exposure of 2 hour full length test, which will help you to crack the CAT. But some people, because you want to do more questions, you're primarily preparing through test series or SIMCATs. Because of that, you will end up taking more tests. So we generally don't see a lot of students taking all 40, right? So we offer 40, but the number of people who actually do that is on a very low side. Most of the students end up taking anywhere between 15 to 20 mock tests. But of course, on the lower side also we have students where people take 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. But that is not a good strategy. Okay, Satvik has asked, should I do multiple iterations of arithmetic and algebra instead of completing entire quant? See, you'll always have time later to do that. So the iterative thing that you're talking about, you're going to have enough time to do it. The first task would be to complete the base of all the topics. So that's why module 1, 2, 3, 4. If you finish that, you've covered the basics of all the topics, which puts you in a position where you can tackle questions across the easy, medium, difficult level in the SIMCATs. Okay, so that is why do all of it. Then later you can decide that, okay, first round of syllabus is done. Now I want to do more of arithmetic, more of algebra, so that iteration will always happen. And it will continue to happen till November. But for now, the priority would be to complete my entire quant syllabus at least once. When should we complete the syllabus? This is from Kritika, if we are a repeater. So as a repeater, I'm expecting that you would have done something last year as well. So there are different kinds of repeaters as well, right? So people who take it for the first time without any sort of preparation. Then there are people who do moderate level of prep. Then there are people who have done intense preparation and are going to repeat. So depending on who you are as a candidate, that answer is going to be different. But I would suggest that if you're a repeater and you had done even a little bit of preparation last year, try and finish your syllabus at least by June or July. So don't wait till August. But maybe June, July, if you can finish your syllabus, nothing like it. Sanya's asked, are rough sheets provided in CAT examination? So you get a booklet. So there are no rough sheets that are given. It's a printed booklet. On the booklet at the top, you will see the logo of the IMS and things like that. And it is sufficient. So the number of pages that are there in that booklet, it is sufficient for anybody to do all the rough work that is required. So don't worry about that. It is given in the actual test. Pratham has asked, in CAT 24, VRC had RC and VA mix, so couldn't perform well. How should one approach this mixed VRC section? That's a good question, Pratham. What you do is basically just move on to the next set. So, for example, in RCs, right, you're going to know that, let's say you start with RC and you're not going to do RC, maybe you want to do VA. You see the first question RC. Now you know that I can simply jump by 4 questions and it will give me maybe the VA question or the next set of RC. So you can do that. So you decide that, okay, whether I want to do RC first or VA first and then RC, or I'm going to take it the way it appears, which is again generally not a good strategy. So I have to be choosy. So even if I get an RC thrown at me or a VA question thrown at me, I have to take a call whether I am going to do it at this point of time or I'm going to do it later or I'm never going to do it. So that is the call that you need to take very, very quickly. Okay. All right, let's take one of the questions that we got in the Google form, how to reduce solving time. Okay, now, solving time is a function of a lot of things. Firstly, it is a function of your content. Second is how much of that concept or area you have practiced. And then are you able to visualize the steps that you need to do? So let's say if it is from a topic that I have not practiced, right? Now, no matter how easy or difficult that question is, I will struggle with the question because I haven't practiced it. So let's say some of you have not done P and C at this point of time. And I ask you a P and C question. A lot of people, even if they break their head over it, they'll not be able to solve it. So that's the first thing, which is content. Have you done the core theory and concepts that are required to solve that particular question? The second is, how many similar questions have I practiced? So if I've done, let's say, 100 questions of permutation combination, I will be in a better position compared to somebody who has done, let's say, only 10 questions of PNC. So it's a volume game. The more questions you solve, the better you start getting, because you start realizing, okay, what is the pattern, right? What kind of questions are being asked? What are the traps that are present, and so on. And the third thing is, I have to figure out, okay, what are the steps that I need to take to go to the answer? So let's say if it's a question from algebra, right? Or let's say progressions, that there's a ball that is dropped from the top of a building and it bounces to, let's say, 2/5 of the height till it comes to rest. So what is the distance covered? I need to know, okay, what are the things that I need? I need the initial drop. I need to know the bounce that is happening. I need to know the sum of infinite terms of a GP, where R is less than 1. So all these things, if I'm able to visualize, I should get into the question. But if that is not happening and I enter the question, mostly I will end up wasting my time. So for quant especially, you should be able to visualize this. Speaking of RC, if it is from an area that you're generally comfortable reading, you can invest in that. Or if it is something from a very difficult topic, let's say a philosophy or a psychology, sociology that maybe you have not done, it's better to keep that as the third or fourth RC that you do, rather than doing it as the first or the second RC. For a DI or LR set, if you're able to figure out at least the framework that, okay, this is how I'm going to start solving it. Let's say they have given you in a very basic set, let's say 6 people are there sitting in 6 different floors and so on, working in 6 different departments, etc. And then whatever, some other additional things are given. If you're able to figure out, okay, this is the starting point of it, this is how I should place people, correct? Then you get into it. But if you're not able to understand anything, then don't get into it. So solving time is a function of a lot of things. And right now, I would not worry too much about it, because eventually, see, everybody, all of you will be better than who you are at this point of time. So there will be that feeling that, okay, right now I'm not able to solve, but later you will be able to solve. So even when I was a student, sometimes I used to think that this is a very difficult set, I'm not able to solve. But gradually, as you do more similar sets, tournaments, for example, it's a classic thing that people find difficult. Or let's say a 3-set when or a 4-set when. The more 4-set when questions you do, you will realize that, okay, that is not very difficult to solve. Okay. But till that point, you're always scared of it. So your solving time is a function of these things that I mentioned. And if you're able to sort of reach that phase where you can spot the steps, then you should get into the question. Otherwise, it's better, at least at this point of time, to stay away from such questions. See, because you need to improve your question selection approach. So as you progress, you will realize that question selection is far more important, because if I get into the wrong question, I will end up wasting my time, and that is going to reduce my score. So as a follow-up question to that, how to deal with fatigue and fear. So I put both of them together. So let me talk about the fatigue part of it first. So fatigue is, again, can happen because of multiple reasons. One is you don't like preparing for CAT. So when you are forced by somebody else to take a particular test, you're not going to enjoy that experience. So if you think of anything that you like in life, if you're asked to do that, you don't feel tired. So if somebody likes dancing, even if you dance for an hour, maybe you'll not feel tired at the end of it. But if you don't like dancing and somebody makes you dance for 1 hour or even for 15 minutes, maybe you'll get tired at the end of it. So why are you doing CAT preparation? Why are you taking a particular test? So is your mindset or approach towards the test itself negative at this point of time? If that is the case, you will feel far more tired. So the first thing would be to change the mindset. The second thing is going to be energy, right? Because fatigue is a function of energy. So if you do not have enough energy, let's say I've seen people taking mock tests at 10 o'clock in the night. Now I know that you may not have an option, which might be true for a lot of students. But if you have an option and SIMCATs are conducted on the weekends, I would suggest that you take it when you are in the best possible shape physically, so that it will help you to get a higher score. If you take it, let's say, in the night at random hours, it is going to prove, or it is going to be, I would say, a situation where you are not at your 100%. So your score is not going to be reflective of whatever your actual preparation level is. So that is why take enough rest, the food that you eat, the energy that you have, that is going to create some difference. The third thing that is, again, something that a lot of people feel is that it's a 2 hour test, right? So at after half an hour, I'm starting to feel tired, or I'm starting to feel nervous about what is going on, and so on and so forth. I would say from now itself, start getting used to sitting at one place for 3 hours. See, because when you go for the CAT, you are supposed to go early. The reporting time is 1.5 hours prior to your actual test time. So if you have a test at 9 o'clock, the reporting time would be 7:30. So let's say you imagine going to the test center at 7:30, you sit in front of your laptop at, let's say, the machine that you have at about 8, 8:15. For about 45 to 60 minutes, you will just be staring at the machine. You are not going to do anything else. If you can use this sort of a setting at for your SIM cards as well, you will derive more benefit. So what I'll do is I'll sit with limited amount of rough sheets. I will sit in front of my laptop, let's say 45 minutes in advance before I take the SIM card, so that I'm creating or duplicating the situation that I'm going to get. So if you do that, over a period of time, you'll realize that your stamina has gone up. So maybe right now you're struggling to sit for 2 hours, but eventually you will find it very easy to do that. So start small, right? So it's not going to just happen overnight. That is why when you're taking your benchmarking test or module test, or let's say just solving questions at home, sit at one place for a very long period, and gradually you will build stamina. The second thing is the fear part. How to deal with fear? Now, fear is a very common thing, right? Everybody is scared of something or the other. So recently, I ran in a 10K race. So for some reason, I had a very bad headache. So the race was supposed to start at roughly around 6 o'clock in the morning, and for some reason, I got up at 3:30, right? And there's no requirement for me to do that. But I started having these lot of negative thoughts that maybe I'll not be able to run because I have a headache. Maybe my timing will go for a toss. What if I get a very bad headache and I'm not able to even finish the race? So I started getting a little bit scared, right? And then I decided to sort of just meditate for some time and listen to some really good content that about running, etc., that motivates me, that I've done in the past as well, and it took that fear away. So if you have negative thoughts or fear, you need to figure out what should I do which will take it away from me. So a lot of you might be fearing that, okay, what if I get a negative score? But think of it this way, that you, even if you get a low score, you are better than somebody who is not taking the test. So you have already beaten hundreds or maybe thousands of students just by showing up. So don't think that just because I've got a low score, it means that I'm not in a good position. In fact, you're in a better position compared to a lot of people who are not even taking tests at this point of time. So don't worry about the scores that you get, right? So the outcome should not bother at this point of time. Eventually, you will get better. So right now, let me not worry too much about it. Okay, how to come out of the low score zone? So we spoke a little bit about that. The first and foremost thing is going to be working on your content, because if your content is shaky, it's going to reflect in your actual scores. So I will take care of my content, which is studying theory, solved examples, class exercise, practice exercise. If you do that, then you will not struggle too much when you're actually taking the test. The second thing is going to be question selection. So low score also happens because you're selecting the wrong questions. If you select the wrong question, obviously your score is not going to be very high, because you'll end up wasting time that you could have used to solve better questions. So I will have to figure out what are these questions that I should be staying away from, or what are these questions that I should be jumping into, which is the ABC methodology that we keep talking about. A is something that you do immediately, B is something that you do later, and C is something that you don't do. So for all the, once you take the test, you see classification of questions, right? That all of that is being done for a reason, so that you are able to figure out whether you selected the right set of questions or not in that particular test. So two major aspects of getting out of low score zone. First is going to be working on your content, and second is selecting the right set of questions. All right. Now, how many questions to attempt? So this again was a commonly asked question, that how many questions should I be looking at? And I have a very big data table that is there in front of you. But what you need to focus on is, again, some of this data is from 24, rather the bottom three tables are from 24, and the top table is 21, 22, 23, 24, right? So what you see is, to get to a 99 percentile, the requirement in terms of percentage can be somewhere close to 50%, or in fact, it could be less than that also. So you don't have to do everything in the paper, obviously, and it won't be even possible for most of the students. What you need to focus on is, one, clearing the minimum sectional requirements. For that, look at the bottom three tables and look at the 85 percentile equivalent score. So a VRC 85 percentile is a score of around 20, which means I would have needed somewhere around, roughly, again, this is not exact because these are scaled scores and this is after normalization. But let's say 7 correct questions, right? So at least let me 20 divided by 3, 6 point something. So 7 correct questions is what I will need. Similarly, for DLR, 85 percentile is what, 19, which means roughly around, again, 7 questions, 6 or 7 questions. For quant, it is around 14, so about 5 correct questions. Now, let's say you get these numbers. So you get, let's say, 7, 7, and 5. If you get 7, 7, and 5, you are getting 19 correct questions. And again, I'm not assuming, I'm assuming rather 100% accuracy also, let's say. So 7, 7, 5, which means I have 19, 19 into 3. So I have 57. 57 would take me to a 90%. So 85 percentile in each of the sections will take me to roughly about 90 percentile overall. Right? Now, if I divide the bottom tables by 3, as I told you, you will get roughly the number of questions that you should be looking at getting correct. But you will need to attempt more, right? Because you might end up getting a bit negative and so on and so forth. So to get, let's say, a score of 20, I may have to get, say, 8 correct and 4 wrong, which means I'll have to attempt 12 questions. Or let's say in DLR, to get, let's say, to a 90 percentile, I need about 22, which can happen through, let's say, 8 correct questions and 2 wrong questions. So always account for that accuracy bit and accordingly attempt more. So don't settle at, let's say, attempting only 5 questions in VRC. Because even if you get all 5 correct, you will be at 15, which will be less than 80 percentile. So account for all of these things, and see, as you progress, you will start figuring this out, right? Right now, maybe you're not in a position to exactly figure out how to manage yourself. But over a period of time, you'll realize that, okay, I'm very good at quant. So maybe in VRC, even if I don't get a very high score, I'll be able to compensate for that. So you will see a lot of scorecards where students have exceptionally high score in 1 or 2 areas. And the third area, they barely scrape through. And that is also fine. That is okay as a strategy. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. Should you have that as a core strategy? I'm saying no. You need to do equally well as much as possible across the sections and have 1 or 2 very strong areas. So imagine, let's say, somebody who is at a 90 percentile in 2 sections. Let's say VRC, DLR, you're getting 90 percentile. That's a total of 46, correct? And you are very good at quant, so you get a 99 percentile there. So you're 46 and you're 33, right? If you combine that, you're going to get 79. So 79 overall score would take you to a figure which is very close to a 97 percentile or something. So even though you have two 90 percentile and a 199, your balance would be about 97 point something. So figure this out, but it will take some time. It's not going to be obvious at this point of time. And something that may be an area of improvement right now will become a strength at some point of time, and it might become a super strength at some point of time. So you never know, correct? What you need to just focus on is currently, okay, am I doing my syllabus? When I go for the SIMCAT, am I doing questions from the areas that I've done so far? And how am I doing on these questions? So I will not judge my performance on the basis of the entire syllabus. So let's say one of you, let's say Pratham here, right? Pratham ends up taking a mock. Pratham should not be judging himself on the basis of all four modules. If he has done only two modules, he should be, his approach should be that, okay, I've done these two modules. Whatever questions appear from these two modules, I'm going to judge my performance basis that. So if let's say out of all the questions, you get 30 questions from these two modules. On these 30 questions, how have I performed? That's it. So I'm not going to worry about things that I've not done at this point of time. So how many bare minimum questions to attempt? I would say you try and do at this point of time about 5 to 6 questions in each of the sections. It will give you enough confidence to aim for higher numbers. But right now, 5 to 6, if you can start with that, nothing like it. Okay, how many people on average take the SIM cards? So that number again varies a lot. It can be anywhere between 10,000 to 17,000. So it depends as to which test we are talking about. Early season, the numbers are not very high. So roughly about 10, 11,000. But as we progress in the season, it goes to 15, 16, 17,000 and even higher. Okay. How to solve difficult questions? My answer is very simple. You don't solve difficult questions. Okay. So when you're actually taking the test, if you end up seeing something very difficult, you honestly stay away from it. You accept that this may not be the best decision today, and you stay away. See, there you also need to keep your ego at bay. Right? So when I was a student, right, I was preparing for the test. I was reasonably good at quant. So I always used to take it on my ego that I'm not able to solve a particular question. And what used to happen because of that is you would end up wasting time and your performance would get affected overall. So that's a mistake that I did. And I was talking to my mentor, and my mentor told me that, do you have a fridge at home? I said, yeah. So he said, do one thing, open it and keep your ego inside and then take the next test, right? So you have to let go. So do not solve difficult questions. It's not going to help you much. All the questions carry equal weightage. You don't get more marks because you've done a difficult question. I will first and foremost figure out all the easy questions, do them. That will build the majority of my score. And once I have that, I'm going to do moderate questions. Now, does that mean that I should not be practicing difficult questions? No, you should practice difficult questions. So let's say I take a SIMCAT now and I say, okay, fine, there are these 20 questions which were very, very difficult. During the test, I have not touched any of those questions. Fantastic. So now when I'm analyzing my SIMCAT, I will spend enough time trying these questions on my own because there is enough learning in frustration. So when you get frustrated that I'm not able to understand this, I'm not able to progress, what should I do? You end up learning something in that entire process. You realize that, okay, this should not be done, that should be done. This is the approach, this is a trap, this is something that opens up the set. All of those things will contribute towards you becoming a better set selector or RC selector or question selector. So that is why you do difficult questions, but outside the test conditions. During the test conditions, you don't experiment. You don't try and do very difficult problems. When should I start taking SIMCATs? So as and when they happen, as I mentioned, whenever we have the proctored SIMCATs, you just show up and take it. The other SIMCATs, which are SIMCAT take-homes and CAT full-length papers, that can be taken as per your discretion. But at least after the first round of syllabus is done. And then one last question that we had from the Google form: will mock test alone be enough for prep? See, mock test is like, again, using that running analogy. Taking a mock test is like running in a race, right? Wherein you are trying to see if you're able to apply. But that is not the only way in which you should be preparing, because you'll need to do a lot of other things. So as a runner, you will have to, let's say, do strength training. You will have to do stretching. You will have to do a lot of long running practice to build your endurance. So there will be a lot of other things that you need to do to get better at the actual race day performance. So when I look at SIMCAT is like that race day performance for me. But I need to do a lot outside it, which is doing class exercise, practice exercise, benchmarking test, review of the past tests that you have taken. So will only test be enough? My answer is no. But if you can supplement that with, let's say, any sort of courseware or class exercise, practice exercise, online sessions, either in a live or a self-recorded format, that's the thing that I will need to get better at the individual topics, which will translate to a higher performance. Okay. All right, I'm going to now take questions purely from the YouTube chat because I'm more or less done with this. I'm going to stay on this one slide so that people have some takeaway from this. Okay, this is from Aryan. Wouldn't we get more out of SIM cards if we are a bit more prepared? Yeah, Aryan, that is why if you look at the SIM card schedule, you will see that there are enough SIM cards happening in every month, right? Initially, the frequency is on the lower side because we also know that students are not 100% prepared at this point of time. So you start with pre-SIM cards, you take your SIM card 1, 2, 3. That is just sort of testing the ground that, okay, this is how it is. But later you will realize that, okay, the frequency is higher, correct? So you have higher frequency because we also know people will be more prepared at a later point of time, not right now. So we have tests that we run till middle of November. That is when the last SIM card will happen. And then you have 20 take-home SIM cards that you can take whenever you want. So if you think right now I don't want to use them, you keep it for a later point of time. Okay. SIM cards and actual cat, are they exactly same? Can we edit our questions in SIM cards also? View previous answer of the same section. Okay. So Sanya, the way SIM cards work, they replicate the cat format, which means that while you are in a particular section, you can jump between questions. But once you have moved on from one section to another, you cannot go back to that section. So it is exactly the cat format. The features that are there on the interface are exactly the same. Kritika, ideal way to master VRC. First suggestion is going to be to read as much as possible. So there is nothing that comes close to reading for VRC preparation. Then, of course, the practice. So practicing RCs, practicing verbal questions. That's the second thing that I would recommend. But you need to read a lot to get better at it. Satvik, how to use the take-home SIM cards? How many are there? Only 5 available until now. Yeah, so there is a release schedule. So don't think that there are only 5 SIM card take-homes. There are 20 take-home SIM cards. There is a release schedule which is available on the IMS website. When to use them? As I said, proctored, as and when they happen, you take it as per the schedule. The take-home SIM cards, you can decide to take them after first round of syllabus is done. So let's say you are done with your first round of syllabus, you can start them even now. But if you think, no, my first round of syllabus will be done in August, you can start in August. Okay? But just pace yourself in such a manner that you're able to complete it. Pranav, I have started my prep and I study from Monday to Friday and give benchmarking test on weekend. And my mentors have advised me not to give any SIM cards till the completion of module 2 or 3. Okay. So Pranav, generally we suggest people to do at the end of module 2, you're ready, right? But then see, it also depends on when you are starting. So let's say you're starting just now. By the time you complete your module 2, it will be mostly end of June. In that case, you have not taken the first 4 SIM cards and the pre-SIM cards. So you are not getting enough opportunity to get better in this period in terms of your test taking strategy. So that is why I would suggest that if you are worried about it right now, if you're worried about your score, wait for your first module to get over and then you can start. But I will not wait till my third module to get over. But see, that advice works for people who have already done 2 modules. So if you are somebody who started prep, let's say 5 months back, you have completed 3 modules as of now, you are ready to take the test. But for people who are starting just now, I would suggest that pre-SIM cards at least you can begin with. And after one module is done, you jump onto the SIM card, the schedule that is there. Where can we view the past CAT papers? It will be available on the MyMS dashboard itself. Can we see a percentile if you haven't given the SIM card in that particular slot? Yes, that is available. So what we do is once in the proctored SIM card, when thousands of students take the test, we get enough data to give percentile. We give the percentile, so there is a mapper that gets generated. So then let's say somebody takes it at a later point of time, they'll also be able to see the percentile. I plan to give benchmarking tests till my syllabus completion till August, then give around 20 SIM cards till November when everything is completed. Is it a good strategy? As I mentioned, don't wait for August to start SIM cards. So take SIM cards while you're preparing. It may not be the best possible scores that you get, but at least you are giving yourself enough time to get better at test taking. Kritika, if we have weekend classes at IMS, what are we supposed to do during the rest of the 5 days? Oh, great question. So what I'll do is I will firstly prepare for the upcoming class. So if I have, let's say, 4 classes on the weekend, I will do the theory, solved examples of these particular topics. I can also watch the pre-class concept videos that you get. The second thing that I'll do is for the topics that I've already completed, have I done the benchmarking test? Have I done practice test, practice exercises? Those are the things that I will finish off. So I will plan for about anywhere between 2 to 3 hours per day and then study, right? So studying, practicing what I've already completed in terms of classes and then preparing for the upcoming classes. The next SIMCAT will be conducted when? The next Friday we'll have pre-SIMCAT 3 and I think then we have a break and then we have the first SIMCAT starting. So again, the schedule is there on the IMS website. Time-bound practice is must. That's a mistake I did is somebody else is writing complete before August. From August, give only mocks. So see, there are two things. One is don't wait for your entire syllabus to get over to start the mocks. Take mocks while you are preparing. Do not worry too much about your score. After August, what happens is most of the students have completed the first round of syllabus. Then you can focus more on test taking and the approach becomes, have I taken a test? Now, if I take the test, okay, have I done all the right questions? If I've not done the questions, okay, which are the ones that I've skipped, then go back to your books and study those topics more. So the approach shifts. Right now, it's like I have to do courseware first, then I can take the SIMCATs. But now, after a period of time, it will become, okay, I've taken this SIMCAT. These are the topics that I've messed up. Go back to your books and revise those topics. SIMCAT difficulty level rises gradually? No, it doesn't. So there is no such thing as fixed difficulty that we have in mind when we create these tests. It's all random. My percentile keeps fluctuating anywhere from 78 to 99. Can you give any tips to stay consistent? Very simple tip. Don't look at your percentile. So see, percentile is a function of what percentage of the population you've beaten on that day in that test. Percentile in SIMCATs or anything for that matter will not be able to give you a sense of what can happen on the actual test. And that is why we created something called a percentile predictor. So you also have a CAT predicted percentile that you will be able to see starting SIMCATs. Right now, you'll not be able to see it. But once you take a SIMCAT, let's say you get a 80 percentile in your SIMCAT. It will show you your predicted CAT percentile, maybe a 90 or a 91 or a 92, etc. The reason for that is in SIMCATs, you don't have a lot of dead weight. Whereas in the actual CAT, you have a lot of dead weight, which automatically pushes your percentile up. So there are a lot of people who are taking it for whatever reasons, they're not serious, they're not prepared and things like that. So that automatically pushes up your percentile or your performance relative to others. And that is why I will not worry too much about my SIMCAT percentile. We give two data points. One is the SIMCAT percentile for that test. You'll be able to see a CAT predicted percentile. You should look at both of them and you should not feel very happy or very sad if you look at these numbers. Okay, so even if it is a low number, that's okay. Even if it is a very high number, don't feel overconfident. So I just need to take a test the way it is. Don't worry too much about what your percentile outcome is. I want to score in the 99.5 percentile. What should be my mock score in the last few mocks? Okay, so see, that's why I decided to put this particular table up. 99.5 percentile would be somewhere close to about 110 or so, right? Or even higher. If that is the number that you're looking at, basically you need to do more than 50% of the paper correctly. So then you know if that's the number that you are chasing, figure out what balance will give you that. So maybe it will come from, say, 15, 15, 20 questions, not questions, sorry, So if I need 100, let's say 100, 105 as a score, maybe I need, say, a 30-30 in two sections, and I can get a 45 in the third section. So that can be, let's say, 10 questions, 10 questions, and 15 questions, correct? So you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to get that? And no matter how much you plan that way, uh, on the actual day, things may be different because you never know which section will come out to be easier or more difficult in your slot. So you prepare enough to tackle all such eventualities. You basically just say that, okay, I have prepared enough. I can handle anything that is thrown at me, and I will do the best that I can in each of the sections that I get. I will not walk in with a fixed number of questions that I'm going to solve because you never know how it is going to be. So the last year quant was easy, but the year prior it was very difficult. So people who walked in with that mindset that, okay, I'm going to do 12 questions or 13 questions, at the end of 40 minutes, they were like, okay, I've done only 6 questions. But because the paper was difficult, it is difficult for everybody. So relatively, you're still fine. So a person who can, let's say, get 8 questions correct in a difficult paper will be able to get 11 easy questions correct in a moderate paper, might be able to get even 14 questions correct in an easy paper. So that is why don't walk in with a fixed number of questions that I want to solve kind of mindset. I get really sleepy while doing VRC in mocks and also at home practice. Uh, okay, so you will have to somehow fix it. There is no unique answer that I can give you for this, but take interest in whatever you're reading. And the more offline reading that you do, the more you will feel, you will get used to a variety of things, right? So then you're not restricted to a particular kind of RC. There are extra DLR VRC practice sets apart from live classes. Module 3 has just begun. By what time should they have been completed? You can take your time. So there are about 100 plus DLR sets that are there. If you do about 2 per day or even 1 per day, you have enough time to finish them. Laksha, how was the level of difficulty on the pre-sim cats as compared to actual cats? So pre-sim cats are definitely much, much easier. They're just to ease you into the whole SimCat thing, right? So they're very easy in terms of the overall difficulty compared to the actual cat. Shiv Karthik, I'm landing at 80 percentile. What are some tips to improve? Right now, don't look at percentile. Look at your absolute score, and whatever topics that you have done, judge yourself on the basis of that. So if you have done, let's say, only module 1 and 5 questions appeared from module 1, have you done all 5 questions correctly? Don't worry about the remaining questions because as you progress, your content will go up and automatically you will be able to solve more questions. But right now, need not worry so much. Do pre-sim cats count towards Club 100? No. Club 100 is an IMS initiative where we select people who get 90 plus percentile on 3 proctored SimCats. It's not pre-SimCat. So pre-SimCats are not counted. And when will that be found? It will be found after the third SimCat. How to manage benchmarking test and SimCat? Since my classes is 4 days a week, weekday, should I give SimCats on Saturday, benchmarking on Sunday? I'm a little confused. Benchmarking tests are much shorter, right? So you can take benchmarking tests during the week as well. And again, you can mix and match. You can do it on the weekends as well if you think. But SimCats, anyway, the schedule is such that it starts on Friday and ends on Monday. You can decide whenever you want to take it. Are IMS online students eligible for Club 100? Yes. So anybody who is eligible for SimCats, which is classroom, online, self-learning students, and so on, everybody who can take SimCat is basically eligible for it. How to start module revision? See, I recommend people to do it well the first time itself so that the revision time goes down. When you're doing it for the very first time, make very good notes so that you can refer to those notes. So when I was an aspirant, I had a separate book in which I used to write all the formulae so that I don't have to go back to my books again and again, open them to refer to the formulae or concepts. So make notes that will prove very, very useful in the later stages of prep. Croco, does extracurricular activities matter? Okay, so not a core prep related question, but they don't matter a lot in terms of overall selection. So even if you don't have it, it's okay. And right now, again, I'll not worry about that. You have enough time to worry about it later. So after CAT also, you can work on your extracurriculars. It's not that you have to do it right now. But yeah, I mean, it's for a separate session. We'll hopefully do something on profile building or queries related to my chances. Maybe that time we'll handle it. But for now, at least we can skip this one. Last year, there was a spike in cutoff. What is the assumption of this year? Do we expect a higher or lower level of difficulty? Don't assume anything, right? So, not assuming anything is the best thing that you can do. If you look at the last 4 years itself, you see the variation, right? A 99 percentile has been a scaled score of 97, 84, 77, 96. So you never know. So don't walk in with any fixed mindset. Should we start giving SIMCAT only after module 1 and 2? I mentioned this sometime back as well. Do not wait for modules to get over. If you think you are somebody who is generally you get demotivated because of low scores. In that case, maybe you can wait a little bit till module 1 or module 1.5. But I'll definitely not wait more than that. How to make a formula book, how to make an important question book. Is it can be the same book, right? So you need not write the entire question, but you write, okay, what kind of a concept was used, what application was used, if there is any particular trick that was used. So those are the things that you can write as part of your notes. Club 100. Okay, so Club 100 gets formed after the first three SIMCATs. People who score in the 90 plus percentile range, they get added. And then there are separate sessions that happen for these students. Last year, I think we had done about 16 odd separate sessions. These sessions are taken by 100 percentile faculty members. So there are like the special Telegram group that gets created. There's a lot of discussion that keeps going on that group. And there are separate sessions that happen, which are additional at a higher level that are conducted for these students. The sheet given during CAT for solving, that's a booklet that is given. It's equivalent to about 4 A4 size sheets. So if you have 4 A4 size sheets, front back included, that is like the equivalent of space that you would get on that rough sheet. I'm studying for 5 hours every day on weekdays and 7 hours on weekend. I've started my prep. Yeah, that's enough. So how much time you're studying for is not really important. It is what kind of questions you're doing, right? What are you doing? Very easy level questions, or are you doing mix and match? Are you doing focus practice? So that will determine more as to how it will impact the outcome. So don't worry too much about the time that you spend. All right. Okay. Anything else? Any last minute questions? Can Club 100 get added later too for later SIMCATs? Yeah, it's not the first three SIMCATs. Any three SIMCATs, if you scored 90 plus percentile, you get added to the group. So it can be, let's say, SIMCAT 1, SIMCAT 5, and SIMCAT 7, correct? It's not necessary that it has to be 1, 2, 3. Around how many people usually make it to Club 100? Last year, I think we had close to about 2,000 students who were part of Club 100. And that number varies. So in some years, it has been on the lower side, like 1,500, 1,600. Sometimes it goes up. So depends. How to start completing backlog due to my college exams? I have a backlog of many chapters. I did, however, watch live lectures and classes. How to approach? Uh, to cover backlog, you have to put in more effort. So I can't be in sync with my classes if I have a lot of backlog. So to do that, you'll have to take, let's say, additional 30, 45 minutes or an hour every day to complete the backlog that you have. Okay. The other thing is you also have to decide whether the backlog is hampering the next set of topics that you're going to get. So let's say your backlog is arithmetic. Okay. The next module is going to be algebra. Now, algebra is not dependent on arithmetic. So even if you don't know, let's say, how to do mixtures alligation questions, you'll still be able to do linear quadratic equations. So it's not dependent. But if, let's say, you are in the first module itself and you have not done percentages, understanding mixtures and alligations is going to be a problem. So some kind of backlog creates problems. Some kind of backlog is okay to something that you can carry for a later point of time. So figure that out and then decide how you want to handle it. I'm solving modules on daily basis, RC practice, etc. Now I started to give mocks as well. Anything else I need to focus on? Nothing. Abhay, just keep doing. So just keep showing up for your SimCats as and when they happen. Don't lose the momentum. Take sufficient breaks also in between, but not very long extended breaks. Why I recommend taking breaks in between is for recovery. See, solving, let's say 30, 40 questions every day if you're doing, right? And you're doing it for days continuously. At some point of time, you'll start feeling a little tired. So take maybe break, slight bit of break once a week, go and watch a movie, um, go out with friends, family, things like that, so that you keep yourself fresh and come back stronger for the next week. So that much if you do, I think you should be fine. So don't worry about it. You're doing enough, Abhay. So just people who are serious, right? People who have already started putting in the effort, they're doing questions, they're showing up for pre-SimCAT, SimCATs. You are on the right path. Don't worry too much right now. Okay. Gave pre-SimCAT 1 and 2, scored 75 in first one, 55 in second due to VRC. Is the score okay for now? Percentile is low. Yeah, don't worry about it. SimCAT, pre-SimCAT, firstly, are on the lower difficulty side. 55, 75, all these scores that you've got. If it had been CAT, you would have been like a 90, 95 percentile, correct? But it's on a lower difficulty. So don't feel very happy about it. Don't feel very sad about it. It doesn't matter. It just shows you that based on current level of preparation, this is what you are able to do. Figure out what you could not do. Study those topics. You have more tests that are going to happen. First two scores, I'm not going to take it to my heart in any way. Okay, so it is what it is. That's it. What SimCAT take home versus free SimCATs, and we have to book a slot for. So for all proctored tests, you have to book a slot. You can still take it whenever you want but there is a slot booking, right? So there is an option to choose when you want to take it. SimCAT take homes, once they go live, they can be taken anytime. So today, let's say after this session, 7 o'clock, you think that, oh, I should be taking SimCAT take home 1, you can take it. But you will not be able to do that for pre-SimCAT 3 because there is a fixed window for that. After the window is done, you can take it at any point of time. I have an opportunity to do internship 19 May to 19 July. It's a good MNC. Should I go for it? Yeah, I mean, why not? So go for it. It will keep you engaged for about 2 months. Good thing to have on the resume. So go for it, but also ensure that you're putting in effort for your CAT prep. Usually, how many days after release are take-home SimCAT stats available? So once we have like a sizable number, we release the percentiles. So that can vary, uh, but we'll try and do it as early as possible. So we look for like a bare minimum number. Once we have that, we release the benchmarks. I have 107 on pre-SimCAT 1. How prepared am I for the actual SimCATs? Fair enough, I think. 107 is good on pre-SimCAT. I would say anything above 60 is a reasonably good score to be ready for the first SimCAT. That's how at least I would look at it. Okay, I think we have spent enough. We spent close to an hour discussing this. So great. I hope it has helped all of you. And if there are any questions, you can always leave it as a comment or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. We have the pre-SimCATs already going on, as I mentioned. But for those of you who have not signed up, you can sign up for the remaining test. So start as early as possible. That is always useful. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Hope this has helped all of you. I'll see you soon in some other Ask Me Anything session in the future. Till then, bye. Take care.